2, 3, 4.
Hello and welcome to Chit Chat with Jed & Co, the show where everyone has their say. Today's show comes from St Mirren Football Club. Can we ask you please subscribe free to our YouTube channel, comment and give us a like. Now today's guest is a genuine superstar in women's football. She started playing the game at 3 years old. She played for a local boys team and was known as Ross. She had the chance to sign for Celtic. She joined Stewarton Ladies at 9 years old, had a career option in athletics, scored in the first ever Scotland Women's International match versus England, where she earned 10 caps, played at the highest level in France and Italy, won numerous trophies across 3 countries, which included 2 Serie A Golden Boots. She fought back from a serious life-threatening illness, was offered the chance to play for Italy and earned 22 caps and only went and won the World Cup and scored in the final. She was voted the best player on the planet. She was inducted into Scottish Sport and Scottish Football Hall of Fame in 2007. She has a sports centre in her hometown of Stewarton named in her honour. An amazing lady who never took no for an answer. Welcome to the show, Rose Reilly MBE.
Wow, thanks, Chid. What an introduction.
Well, Rose, that's just the reason that we do Chit Chat with Jed & Co. It's an absolutely incredible story you have. And thank you so much for coming on the show today and going to be sharing it with us. So, who is Rose Reilly and how did your journey begin?
Right, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here with you, Jed. And it's a pleasure to be at St Mirren's magnificent stadium. Really like it. So what's my name? How did I start? Whatever, right? I'm Rose Reilly. I'm just a wee lassie from Stewarton, small village in East Ayrshire, just outside Kilmarnock. As Jed was saying, started playing at football when I was about 3. I don't have much memory, but my mum told me that when it was Christmas time, I'd asked for a football as a present for Christmas. But then the usual, I just got a wee doll instead of a ball. But went outside and swapped this guy who wanted my doll and I wanted his ball. I always wonder who that wee guy was. Good on you that you wanted your doll, darling, and I wanted your ball. Anyway, I used to sleep with the ball for 2 reasons. Because first, I was in love with it, and second, I was afraid my mum would take it off me. So I just, my dream has always been about football. There was no logical reason for it. I had 3 older brothers, but they weren't really into football. They were into sports at a certain level, but no, I didn't have any encouragement. Absolutely, it was the other way about because it wasn't known in the days for a girl to play football. But I wasn't caring. That's what I wanted to do.
And you did, and as I said in the introduction as well, obviously back in those days there wasn't a lot of football by girls or women, and you actually played for your local boys team. How was that? How did that come about, Rose?
Yeah, well, I was playing with the boys all the time anyway. I was always at the football park, and the football manager of the local boys team asked me if I would play for the official boys team on a Saturday. And I said, of course. He said, but I'll need to take the strip round to your house because you can't come in the changing rooms with other wee boys. And you'll need to get a short back and sides so as you can fit in and change your name from Rose to Ross. So that's a boy's name. So I went to a local barber's and I told him a lie. I just said, my mum said I have to get a short back and sides because I'm going to play for the boys team and she'll bring the money after, so that everybody knew me. So I got the short back and sides. I went home. My mum nearly killed me, killed the barber, and never ever paid for that dodgy haircut. So yeah, I was so excited about that. I mean, it was official. I was in a football team. I had my strip. I was the same as other wee boys, and that was my first step, let's say, on my football career.
Now, you had a chance to sign for Celtic.
How did it come about? We were playing a game, I can't remember who it was against. It was an official game, and I'd scored 8 goals, ran riot. And after the game, there was a Celtic scout there, tried to sign on, I think it was called the S forms in the days, for young football talent, and to sign for Celtic basically. And he said to the manager, I'm going to sign right away the wee number 7. He said, no, it's a wee lassie. And the Celtic scout said, no, the one that scored all the goals is still a wee lassie. So he introduced me to him, and I was gutted. I thought, if I was good enough, why could I not play for Celtic?
Yeah, and as I say, school and early work life for you, Rose, they were huge obstacles
Yeah,
towards your football dream. What difficulties did you face, Rose?
well, difficulties. First of all, I nearly got burnt at the stake, and I'm not joking. Started primary school in Kilmarnock because it was a Catholic school. I had to travel about 5 miles every day. I was only 4.5, and my mum took me and my twin the first day, said, that's the bus station, that's the school, about a mile down the road. And from then on, we were on our own kind of thing. But that everybody was in the same boat in the days. It was no big deal, I suppose. The playground was separated. It was a Catholic school. I don't know, I can't remember if the other schools were like that. But anyway, it was a Catholic school, and there was a boys' playground and the girls' playground. So I seen right away that the boys were playing football at lunchtime. So off I went and I played. And after it, the headmaster and the teacher, I got physically punished for it. I got the belt. Because I dared to go in the boys' playground. I said, but I just want to play football. So every day I played football with the boys, and every day I get the belt. But I just stared at the teacher all the time, just stared him in the eyes while he was giving me the belt, pretending it wasn't sore, and just said, damn it, that nobody's going to stop me. Then one day the headmaster said, you're never going to learn, Rose. And I said, no, it's you that's not learning. I just want to play football. So basically that was it. So then we went to high school, and can I say it was a wee bit better, but the same kind of scenario. Then I got expelled from school for playing football.
My goodness.
So I had no like future career, like work-wise. I had no education, and I was just giving everything up for my beloved game.
Your football, and then obviously you left school.
Yeah.
And then obviously you went on to play. Tell us a story about when you came about to play for. You eventually played for Stuart and Ladies.
Aye. Well, I was playing for Stuart and Ladies. I was only 9 years of age, and I think maybe I would have been about 6 or something when the first ladies team started. It was Mrs. Elsie Cook that started it with her mum. There was about 35 factories in Stuart, wool factories. That made the world famous now Stuart and Bonnet. So for a charity, they used to play netball, but for a charity they decided to play a women's football game. So then it was mostly the women in the factories that played and whatever. They were an older age. So I was about 6, and I went and asked if I could play. And Elsa said, no, we don't want wee boys, you have to be a wee girl. And I said, but I'm a wee girl. So I had big gender issues. I had to be a wee boy. From a wee girl, I had to be a wee boy to play for the boys' team. And now that I want to play for the women's team, she said, no, you're a wee boy. So I was a wee bit miffed at this. But anyway, she said, come back in a couple of years. So I went back in a couple of years, and 2 seconds later and said, that's me, I'm back. So anyway, I was 9 years of age, and I started playing with the women.
Then for Stuart, and
Yeah,
that was a
Stuart
successful.
Ladies.
That was a successful spell as well for the ladies team, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we were pioneers in the game. There wasn't a lot of teams, but they were sprouting up all over Scotland. But unfortunately, CFA didn't recognise us. They wouldn't let us play in official grounds. We couldn't have official referees. So it was just anybody that turned up with a whistle was a referee.
And as a 9-year-old playing in a ladies team, that must have been quite daunting, Rose.
It was daunting because for the first time I was in a dressing room because I couldn't get in with the wee boys. So I was 9 years of old. So the ladies, the youngest were about 20 and the oldest were about 50, 60, whatever. And it was the first time I'd seen anybody in a state of undress. Like older women. You never seen your mum in there. Well, I'd seen my mum once or something try to get, she'd say, come and help me get my corset off or something like that. And I could see that they all had these big bras on, and I thought, my first thought was, they must all be mammies. that because I was just a kid.
It's natural.
And of course I was just 9-year-old, and that was my first, because I was very small, just looking up at all these grown women, undressed, getting ready to play women's football. So that was my first impact, in, let's say, in a dressing room.
Now, I believe you were also a top athlete.
Yeah.
How did that work out?
It worked out. My coach in the days, Kenny Phillips, fantastic guy. He's seen the ability I had as an athlete, an all-round athlete. I was a pentathlete. And how did it work out? I was on the shortlist for the Commonwealth Games. So I went for a week's training session up at St Andrews, and the coach then, John Anderson, said to me, Rose, you'll need to stop playing at football. You're a fantastic athlete. You're in the shortlist for the Commonwealth Games. I was about 16, maybe 15, 16. He said, because you're getting too much thigh muscle, like say football legs, that's not good for athletics. So my mum and dad they were overjoyed that I'd been picked for the shortlist for the Commonwealth Games, because there was a future in athletics for me and there was nothing in the horizon for football. And they were against it. They weren't against it per se, but they were against it because there was no future for me in it. So I stopped playing football for a week to concentrate on athletics. Then I gave the whole thing up for football, and my mum nearly killed me again. After the barbers, that was the next time.
They say football is glamorous, right? You get 10 caps for Scotland, and you played in the first ever Scotland Women's International against England. Now, what's the story behind the final training session and the mode of transport?
Well, the final training session, we all to meet up in Glasgow, and the bus or the minibus didn't turn up, or maybe we didn't even have one. So the secretary of the SF, the Scotland team at the time, Elsie, the lady from Sturton who did so much for women's football, hitched a lift in a furniture lorry. So there we were in all our glory, the Scotland ladies team, sitting beside standard lamps, lying in couches and God knows what, to get to Greenock to try out the stadium.
Before a huge international against England. Absolutely brilliant. Your ambition was always to play abroad.
Yes.
Growing up. How did this become a reality, Rose?
It came a reality because when my dad used to read the newspaper, I would be I'd be down on the knees on the floor, looking at the back pages, the football pages. I'm saying the sports pages, but it was all football. And I used to they would speak about Real Madrid, AC Milan, all the foreign teams, and I thought to myself, I wonder if they've got women's teams, because I was already there was nothing for it. There was nothing organised in Scotland or England for that matter. They were more organised than us, but I wanted to be a professional footballer. So one of the names that had signed the article was Stan Shivers. It was a Daily Record. So off I went up to, I always remember it was Anderson Quay, I think, where the Daily Record offices were, and I couldn't spell the damn name, so that's how it sticks out in my mind, the name. And I went into the Daily Record offices, and the secretary said to me, could I help you? I said, yes, I need to speak to Stan Shivers. She says, have you got an appointment? I said, yes, which I didn't. Never met him in my life. But anyway, I went into Stan's offices, and I always remember this majestic figure sitting beside his desk, behind his desk with his suit on, his cigar, very cosmopolitan. And he looked up and he says, could I help you? I said, I'm Rose Reilly and I want to be a professional footballer.
Brilliant.
So I think he must have thought, what have we got here? So anyways, I spoke to Stan and he embraced my idea, and he said, you not got a friend, because I was young, barely 17, that could go with you and I could try and fix something up. And I did. My best football friend, Edna Neelis from Glasgow, she was a fantastic player. I think technically she was the best player in Scotland, and that even in nowadays, she's always been, for me, she's always technically been the best player, Edna. But anyway, she was up for it. And he said, I found a team in France, Reims, Stade de Reims. We'll take you over for a trial next week, sponsored by the Daily Record. And me and Edna were cocked. We said, we don't do trials, you know. What's this of it? So anyway, off we goes. We flies to France. Passports, we had to get passports now, we didn't have any. And so Stan flew us over to Reims, to Paris, and then on to Reims. They had set up a friendly game for us, you know, this was our trial, and the president came in and signed us at half-time. We'd run amok.
That was you.
Aye. Goes back home, tells my mum and dad, that's me, I'm out to stay in France, I'm going to be a professional footballer. I just think they were glad to get rid of me, you know, because they didn't know what to do with me. No, they were happy. I'm sure they were happy, but they must have been quite afraid at the same time.
Of course, you're only young.
Aye, and at the unknown. So me and Edna treks off to France to play there. So we played there for about 6 months. Tried to embrace a life over there. It was a wee bit difficult. Well, we didn't know the language anyway. But I liked France, but I think I was looking for something else. It was more like semi-professional over there. So there was a certain game, the president of Stade de Reims called us into his office and said, look, the AC Milan want to buy yous. We were so naive at the time because you got a big transfer fee and whatever, we didn't get anything. We didn't have money then. You played, you get kept, your pocket money and whatever. So anyway, signs for AC Milan. So I didn't tell my parents. So off I went. And I always remember when they played.
So they're thinking you're in France.
Aye.
And you signed for AC Milan.
Aye. Well, the fact is, I didn't have a phone at home, a house phone. So I couldn't even reverse the charges. That's what I would have done. So I said, I'll not say anything at the start and see how this goes. So off I goes without telling them. And I always remember when the plane landed in Linate Airport, that is bang in the middle of Milan. And we were walking across the tarmac because there were no buses around in the days. And I just felt at home. I felt it was like a mother's embrace. I just thought, wow. And that's when my love affair with Italy started.
And now you're talking about you embraced it when you left Scotland to go to France, but how, in general terms, how did you find, like you were saying that you felt at home? What was it like?
What was it like? It was amazing. It was, I started playing at football my local pitch, which you've seen today, which is now the Reilly Sports Centre. It was called Strandhead Park at the time. It was Red Ash. And my first game was at San Siro. So I was going for the two S's, Strandhead Park to the San Siro. So before the game, the majestic San Siro, not just some kind of stadium, the stadium, best stadium in the world at that time, and for me still is, obviously. So we arrived in the dressing rooms and I sauntered off on my own onto the football pitch. There was nobody there. So I always remember going to one goal mouth and saying to myself, I'm going to score in there. Then walking along to the other way, I was taking control of the pitch and I was going to score in the other goal. And then I was looking up at the whole dimension of the place, and then I said, I'll close my eyes, and it's just like Strandhead Park. There's 2 goalposts. At the end of the day, that's what football is. So that's how I embraced life there. Edna, unfortunately, got homesick and went home. So I was staying in a hotel on my own for the first year. There was no communication with my teammates because they didn't speak English and I didn't speak Italian. So I used to speak to myself in a mirror at night, so that somebody else was speaking back to me, which was myself, but not in a sad way. This was my way of dealing with things. So that was fine. So I said, we didn't have a phone at home, but so I had to write home to my parents to say, look, I'm in Milan now, I'm not in Reims, and Edna's not with me anymore. Always remember it was a wee light blue transparent airmail letters that everybody else had read it before you did, kind of style. So I wrote home to my parents and told them where I was. After that, there was one day I was walking, I was going by a newsagent's and I seen this great big pink newspaper that I'd never seen the likes before, and it was actually a daily football paper, and I thought, wow, that's great. So I bought it. And I thought, God, I can't read the damn thing. So I bought a wee dictionary and I thought, I'm going to learn 3 words a day. I'm too thick for 4. No, that was too thick. But I didn't really have much of an education. And so that's what I did. And just speaking with the locals, because I used to I would walk for about a mile to the local restaurant, had to order in Italian, and that was it. And I just embraced life there. Had my espresso. I'd never drank coffee in my life. And just embraced the life in Italy.
You most certainly did, and you were. I noted as well that when you played for AC Milan, they actually paid for you to come back home for a surprise visit to see your mum and dad.
Yeah, the fact that Edna had left shortly after we'd arrived there, I think maybe they would be afraid I'd be homesick or whatever. But I was living the dream. Not that I didn't miss my mum and dad, brothers and sisters. That was obvious. But I wasn't homesick. You're having a laugh, playing at the San Siro, going to Rome to play your away games and whatever. No, I wasn't homesick. I'd missed them, aye. So he said, just go. There was a week's break or something in the Campionato in the league, and he said, look, we'll pay for your ticket and away home to see your mum and dad. And they days your flights were about $1,500, $1,500. You didn't have your Ryanair or you always had to go through London in the first place, and it was either Alitalia or British Airways that were very expensive at the time. So that was good of him. Anyway, I didn't tell them didn't tell them I was going home, and I'd gone away as a wee snotty lassie for Stuart, and I was coming back this kind of sophisticated lady. I'd been in the salons in Milan. I wasn't getting a short back and sides anymore. My hair was styled. I'd bought this lovely trench coat, like a kind of Burberry thing, tailored trousers, wee heels in my shoes, a wee bit of makeup on. And when I opened the front door, I always remember my mother came to see who was at the door. The door was open, but she'd just come out in the hall, and she stared at this person, not knowing it was a real lassie. And she just says, "Oh, Rose."
That's an incredible, what a story. So you went for Rose.
To
To Ross.
To Rosa. The
Rosa.
Italian Rosa.
And that is absolutely incredible.
Aye.
Now, getting back to Italy,
Yeah.
and your career, you won numerous trophies across 3 countries, which included 2 Serie A golden boots. This must hold some special memories, Rose, looking back.
Yeah, selfishly, when you win the golden boot, it's a personal honour. And everybody says, I'm happy for the team. That's not true. Of course you're happy for the team, but that's your achievement. You've finalised something. So but I put a lot of hard work into this, Jed. I used to train on my own. The team would train at night because it maybe be too warm. I would train in the midday sun on my own. And wherever I went, I always found a wall and a ball. That was my opponent. And I always refined my skills and get stronger athletically and everything over there. So I had great respect for my passion that was a game of football, and what I was taking out, I was giving a lot in, so I was getting a lot back. Absolutely. There was one particular time I was playing in Lecce at the time, Alaska Lecce. That's the deep south of Italy, and the Rems president got in touch with me. He said, "Will you come over and play the league here, Rose?" And I said, "How can I do that? I'm playing in Italy." But in Italy, you played on the Saturday afternoon. He said, in France, you're playing Sunday evening before the men's game, the big games. They were trying out this their league, women's league to promote women's football. So I says, "Aye, all right." So I spoke to the president in Lecce, and I would play in Italy on the Saturday. And the Sunday morning, I would fly to Orly, Paris. And from then on, I would fly to wherever the team was playing. Played in the Sunday evening for Rems. Flew back on the Tuesday morning to Italy and started off my training. And that year, I won the league in France and Italy until UEFA stepped in and stopped me for health and safety.
You were playing within 2 countries. That's got to be a record to win 2 league titles.
That was a record. That was amazing because everything I did, Jed, even though it's a team game, I did on my own. I had my Fitbit bags all set out, my French one, my French boots. Were I sponsored with something? No big deals or anything like that. I was always getting sponsored, but without getting the money, it was always the presidents that were getting it. I was actually quite naive, let's say. But I didn't care. That didn't come into it. I was living the dream.
You most certainly were. As I say, it's an incredible story, but it's not all been plain sailing, Rose, or it wasn't all plain sailing for you. Sadly, you fought back from a serious, life-threatening illness. That must have been so tough.
Yeah, so tough. It was just one of these other obstacles I had to smash down to play the beautiful game. I'd caught hepatitis. I'd ate a raw seafood. It was after a football match, and we'd been into this restaurant, and the girls were all trying these. They said, "Try raw seafood," and I said, I didn't really want to, but I did. and I caught hepatitis. I was in hospital in Barry for I don't know how long. The first 15 days I was in isolation. I was practically in a coma. I didn't know what was going on. So I suppose it's a wee bit the way things were nowadays. There was just there was a wooden door with a wee window, and they would just look in at me, and then the doctor would come in like with a spacesuit on, just in case it was infectious, or a wee bit like the COVID of just now. And anyway, I was so weak, but then they realised it wasn't infectious what I had, and I was slowly getting a wee bit stronger, and I went into a normal ward. But then the doctor came to speak to me one day after he'd analysed everything, and he said, "That's your football career over, Rose. You'll never play again." So I just stared at my eyes. I said, "No way. Everybody already told me that I couldn't play at football before when I was a wee girl getting punished at school, and that feeling comes surging through me again." I said, "No way." So I went back to where I was staying with it was always Lecce, the team that I was playing for, and I couldn't even go to the toilet myself. I was so weak. But then with my determination, every day I decided to walk a wee bit. Then I went outside and I walked like 10 metres or something like that. Then 20. Then I managed to get to the football pitch, which was situated where I was, the villa where I was living with the president. And then as soon as I seen the 2 goal posts again and smelt the grass, I said, "That's your Rose." So every day walked a wee bit. Then I eventually ran a wee bit like to the halfway line, and I was absolutely exhausted. And then I never looked back after that.
That fighting spirit, Rose.
Fighting spirit, plus the fact I found that the strength from my inner self. Didn't tell my parents that I was ill. Why would I worry them? I mean, they were in Scotland, I was in Italy. My choice to play at football, so I was always the type of person, just got on with it, Rose.
You played for the Scotland national women's team on 10 occasions. You then starred for the Italian national team on 22 occasions. How did that come about, Rose?
It came about, Jed, that when I was playing in Italy, I got notification from the SFA that they banned me from life for playing for my country. No reason given. I actually didn't have an official letter in. It was just my friend else that had said, "By the way, you're banned for life." And I said, "But I haven't done anything. The only thing I've done is tried to better myself." So I think Scotland should be proud of that instead of banning me for life. But anyway, I said, "Well, if they don't want me, there's nothing much I could do about it." So it got to the years of the Italian Federation, and the president asked me if I'd play for Italy, and they would get me Italian citizenship, dual nationality. And I said, "Oh, aye, that's great, fantastic." So that's why I started playing. That's how it came about that I could play for Italy. So I played for Italy, and it was one of the proudest moments of my life. 2 proudest moments. The one when I put on my Scotland shirt against England, all the enemy, and I scored against them. I just wanted the referee to blow the whistle and say, "That's it. Scotland won, England nothing. Goal by Rose Reilly, goodbye." But football's not like that, is it? So when I put on for the first time I put on the Italian shirt, it was a Scottish heart beating under an Italian jersey, for sure.
It's powerful.
Yes.
Powerful.
It was powerful. And I remember a particular game we played against England in Italy. So it was English national anthem before the Italian one. So it starts off with "God Save the Queen," and I'm singing "Oh Flower of Scotland," just staring at them. And then I went on to the Italian thing.
The English players must have been thinking, who's this? So with Italy, you reached the pinnacle, Rose.
Mm-hmm.
You only went on and won the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, you scored.
Aye.
So from the red ash pitches to the top of the world.
What can I say about that, Jed? There's obviously the pinnacle of my career. We played the final against West Germany, and I scored one of the goals, and I'd made the other 2. That was a surreal moment. That was one of the moments that you're walking in the air for weeks after, with your head in the clouds. You've achieved what you've kind of set out to achieve, or what my dream was. That was my dream, and I made that dream come true. Dreams just don't come true because you want them to come true. It was hard work. It was sacrifice. It was giving up everything. It was giving up my education. It was giving up my family. I was not coming back home for weddings, funerals. I missed everything out the family life. But for me, that wasn't a sacrifice. I was on a mission.
So you got to the pinnacle of winning the World Cup, but you only went and were voted the best female player on the planet.
Wow, Jed, it doesn't get any better than that. Wow. My first thoughts were not bad for a wee lassie for Stuarton. Absolutely. Dream came true. Dream made possible with all the hard work that I put into it. Dream came true with everything that I'd given up. My education, my family life. There was no coming home for weddings, funerals or anything. Just focusing on my football career. And I'd reached the top.
You most certainly did, Rose, that's for sure. I mean, you played at the highest level across 3 countries. You played for several clubs in Italy as well, which included obviously AC Milan. You embraced the lifestyle, as you said. What made you decide to give up your Italian lifestyle?
Well, it wasn't actually a choice. I got a phone call to say that my mum had a severe stroke and she hadn't long to live and to get straight over. I'd just been married the year before. I met my husband in Italy, an Argentinian doctor, Norberto Peralta, and my daughter, Valentina Megan Peralta, was born. So she was only 8 months old when I put her in a baby papoose and I flew over to thinking I was saying goodbye to my mum. She was in a hospital bed in Irvine Central and her face was all twisted. She was paralysed and she said, "Don't leave me, Rose, I'm afraid." And I promised I wouldn't leave her. They said she would last a week. 9 years later, I was still here. I wasn't breaking my promise. I could get Italy back. I couldn't get my mammy back.
In 2007, you got the recognition you deserved here in Scotland when you were inducted into Scottish Sport and Scottish Football's Hall of Fame. You must have been in cloud 9.
Absolutely, Jed. It's the first one I was inducted into the Sports Museum up in Edinburgh. And it was a real proud moment because I was beside the likes of Liz McColgan and other world-class athletes, not just football, obviously, I was only footballer. And I always remember getting piped in just near Edinburgh Castle and I couldn't even answer any question. I was all choked up and that was the first time I thought, I'm home.
You've made it, you know.
Then getting inducted into the Scotland Hall of Fame at Hampden, that was a surreal moment because I was the first and only female that had been inducted in. I was beside the greats of Scottish football. And obviously, such a proud moment to take this step towards women's football getting recognised in Scotland.
And Rose, you were the pioneer. Scottish women's football is fantastic. Thousands and thousands of girls and women are playing football. You were the pioneer.
I wasn't alone, Jed. I wasn't the only pioneer. I was successful, but to make women's football successful, you don't just have to win everything. It was all the other girls who were getting no accolades, but were still in there struggling to get recognition. They're pioneers.
Yes, indeed. It's a team game. A wee lassie for Stuarton. You're now an MBE with a local sports centre named in your honour. You spoke about your mum and dad, who are sadly no longer with us. They must be so proud looking down.
Yeah, when they were having a Rose Reilly tribute night in the local hall in Stuarton, from a group called Stuarton Initiatives, and I didn't know what it consisted of. So the half of Stuarton was there. It was Graham Spears. It was a compeer, and all the wee local primary schools were singing to me, "Oh, she's fit but crazy, she's fit but daft." So it was just, I was already emotional at all this, all these wains, and just the half of Stuarton there. And then at the end of it, they said, "Oh no, we've got something for you," and they unveiled a plaque, and they said, "The Rose Reilly Stuarton Sports Centre." and I was just gobsmacked. So it was late at night when I got home, and I went by the sports centre to go. The cemetery is just behind the sports centre, so I went to say thank you to Mum and Dad.
Oh, Rose, that's absolutely incredible. It's what an inspiring story, and you're the reason, as I said at the start, or one of the reasons people like you, that we've got Chit Chat with Jed and Co, the show where everyone has their say. Because as you've said to me often, it's not about the fame.
Yeah.
It's not about it's about the hard work. You've got an MBE as well. I mean, it's incredible. So finally, what advice would you give to any young person watching this show today, Rose?
I don't like giving advice, but I'll just say never give up. Follow your dreams. You don't have to be what your mum and dad wants you to be, but everybody wants their kids to be like a doctor or a scientist or work in the bank. You just be what you want to be and do your best. That should be good enough for you. You want to be the best cleaner, you can be the best cleaner. Whatever makes you happy, whatever your focus is in life, it has to be for yourself, not for others.
Well, Rose, that was a journey for me. You're the reason, or one of the main reasons, that we do Chit Chat with Jed and Co, the show where everyone has their say. So, Rose, Ross, Rosetta, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time today. Incredible.
Grazie, Jed.
So that's our show for Chit Chat with Jed and Co, the show where everyone has their say, from St Mirren Football Club. Can we ask you please subscribe free to our YouTube channel, comment and give us a like. Thank you for watching.